Can we all rise for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the February meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Philipstown. Approval of minutes, workshop meeting, what's this one, November 19th, 2025?
Yes,
Yes?
we're a little behind on approving
I
minutes.
see that, yeah.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing, Aquifer Overlay District, December 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Gas Station Overlay District, December 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Hybrid Petroleum Storage Facilities, December 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Unlisted Uses, December 4th, 2025.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Conservation Board report.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah, hi. I attended the Conservation Board meeting last January 13th. The report's in the packet, but the gist of it is that the HHLT is going to be, they're going to daylight a portion of Horton Brook on land near the Garrison Golf Course. They have to move some retaining walls. They have to do a little bit of work, but it's not going to be too significant. They expect to start in the low flow months of late summer, early fall, remove a culvert and 2 concrete retaining walls. Also, let's see, there's a single family home to be built off of 9D down near Mandalay Road. There was a site visit scheduled for that. And finally, there are some homeowners near Sproutbrook Road who had received a pile of dirt that they were not authorized to receive. And so there's a little back and forth about that, but everybody agreed they wanted to have a amicable resolution reached, and they're looking for a remedy, not punishments. And that thus concludes my report for the Conservation Board's January meeting.
Thank you. Great job. Recreation.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many people here. I attended the Recreation Commission monthly meeting on Tuesday, January 27th. The winter programming had kicked off in early January. There were no issues, and the programming went very smoothly. The classes are at full capacity, and the fitness classes are completely booked. The staff is currently working on the spring program, and will have offerings along with the summer camp schedule coming out soon. With regard to summer camp, plans are to hold another 7-week summer camp program based on the local school district calendar. Registration will be held on Monday, March 9th at 8:30 a.m. for residents. Additional registrations during the month of March are for before and after care, March 16th, and for preschool, March 23rd. For seniors, the second luncheon, which is an annual winter luncheon, will be held on Wednesday, February 11th. It's at full capacity. You have to be registered to attend, so that is fully booked. There is a new event that the Rec Department is proposing for March, which is a spring purge tag sale. No food vendors, just come and sell your used goods. You have to register for a spot, and more details will be announced soon. Finally, there have been improvements at the rec center to the community room, which is on the lower level. They're also revamping 2 additional rooms, one for the teens to hang out during teen nights and summer camp, and also there's going to be a new board game room that will be unveiled next month. For the Depot Theater, it has submitted its proposal to New York State Council on the Arts to receive funding for a new building on the rec center property. This structure will house costumes, a workshop, and a practice space. It's expected that the Depot will hear about whether or not they receive the funding sometime this spring. The next meeting of the Recreation Commission, which is open to the public at the Rec Center, is Tuesday, February 24th at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you to the Rec Department. Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub was very busy over the past month of January, and several support groups were offered, including the Women with ADHD, the support group for suicide loss survivors, the Grief and Loss Support Group, and the Compass Circle, which is a series of workshops for parents and teenagers and young adults. There's also a story circle for people 60 years of age and older, and that was also held at the Philipstown Friendship Center. I'm not going to go through all of the meetings and the events that our Philipstown Hub staff attended, but they have been visible throughout the community at many events. I'll just give you a couple of examples. The Putnam County Collaborative Partners Luncheon, the Putnam Northern Westchester Women's Resource Center, and the Hub also met with the Putnam County Mobile Crisis Unit Team at the Hub. In mid-spring, there was also a Mental Health Alliance webinar and training, which the Hub participated in. The Hub has also submitted its reports to Putnam County and the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley on the grants. It's conducting board development training on February 11th, and the next full Hub board meeting will be March 11th. Upcoming programs in February, there is a Compass the Circle program that's workshops for parents and teenagers will be February 9th at 12:15. And My Friend Perry, a series of workshops about perimenopause on February 6th, 13th, and 27th at the Hub on Route 9. The Grief and Loss Support Group is on February 10th, and men who have interests and issues and would like to collaborate together on the Friendship Center grounds, there are trainings February 20th and 27th. The support group for suicide loss survivors on February 2nd and 16th. And finally, the grief group for students is on February 12th. All of these dates are on the Philipstown Hub website, which you can check. I just want to give you the numbers of the number of people they reached. In the month of January, the Philipstown Hub reached 488 people in our community, which is amazing. And for the fiscal year, 2,903 people have been reached by the Hub or reached out to the Hub since July of 2025. That's terrific. So thank you to Michelle Cupper, the Hub staff, and the Hub board for all of the work you're doing for our community.
I echo that. Thank you, Judy. Thank you to the Hub and Michelle Cupper. Planning Board.
Okay, I attended the planning board meeting January 22nd. The planning board has a new attorney, Dominic, I guess it's Sardisco, who replaced Steve Gaba, who retired. So welcome, Dominic. He's did a great job on his first planning board meeting. He's seems like he really knows his stuff, just like Steve did. So they represent us very well. The first thing on the agenda was the public hearing for the Hume 230 J. Cox Road. They've been in front of the planning board about 3 or 4 months now. Two citizens spoke regarding this project. One just really wanted to know the duration of the project. Once the project gets started, it's going to be between 16 and 18 months is what we were told. Another person had a concern about a fence that may be on their property. The homeowner is going to look into that, and if that fence is on their property, they will have it mitigated and moved. The public hearing was closed, and Ron was asked to prepare a resolution for next month's meeting to approve it. Old business, Michael Sapula, 4 Cliffside Court. They've been in front of the planning board many months now. They were doing a cascading pond, so that's all been resolved now. They got feedback from the Conservation Board, and Ron will prepare a resolution for next month's meeting. Also on the agenda was Chrismore School. They were supposed to have a site survey, but we had a snowstorm that day, so the site survey is now going to be February 15th at 9:30. Last on the agenda was Adam Vista, 9 Cliffside Court in Garrison. They've been in the planning board process almost probably 2 years now, but finally they had a lot of violations. All the violations have been cleared, and now they're ready to move forward. We're asking Ron to get clarification from the zoning in the Conservation Board. He's going to come back next month with those findings, and they'll start to move forward. I did see someplace on the agenda that they're asking for a 6-month extension. I think that might be the zoning board. I'm not sure about which one. Anyway, the meeting was adjourned at 8:50. The next meeting is February 26th. We moved the meeting from the 3rd Thursday to the 4th Thursday to accommodate the new attorney. End of my report.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you to the Planning Board, and we actually have our chair of the Planning Board here tonight, not paying attention at the moment. But Neil, thank you. I said thank you to the chair of the Planning Board. He's sitting in the audience. I saw that. Well, thank you. Thank you to you and your board. Much appreciated. Zoning,
Phenomenal rep to our,
without a doubt.
thank you.
Zoning,
So I went to the zoning board meeting. There was one case, I've written a report, it's in the packet. The only lesson is that it's easy to get in violation of our old quirky code, but the good news is we have a zoning board of appeals who has all manner of workarounds. The applicant here is going to be applying for a special use permit to be able to build a shed on the adjacent lot across from him, and he'll have that Monday, and he'll probably get it.
thank you. Thank you to the zoning board. Highway.
Highway report submitted by Adam Hoteling, Superintendent of Highways, for the month of January. Winter plowing has begun. Please be aware we are now plowing the village of Nelsonville. With any snow event, do not park your cars on the roads. Parked vehicles interfere with the plowing, and the crews must return many times because they're interference with the road and the job they need to do to plow the snow. Winter storm Fern, I didn't know it had a name of the.
They all do.
First, I knew it was Fern, sorry. Definitely for the books, it was one of the most sprawling, menacing winter storms in years. Our crew worked tirelessly to stay ahead of the storm, multiple inches of snow. Yes, ends of driveways need to be reshoveled where there is salt, and also there's a salt shortage, gas and diesel deliveries were late. Several trucks broke down, but at the end, the crews had all the roads passable for emergency vehicles and did a fine job. Cleanup from the storm wasn't over when the snow stopped. We hired contractors and larger machines to continue widening the roads and clearing intersections, salting, etc. We also assisted the village of Cold Spring with salting because they lost one of their vehicles as well for broken down. I'm happy to say the solar panels were installed in the garage. They did a nice job. They put all the solar panels on within one day, and there's like 240 of them, so they did a nice job. Right now, we're just waiting for the electrician work to get done. Probably within 2 to 3 months, we should have that energized and producing electric from the solar panels. That solar panel project up there should be able to will cover the town garage, the salt shed, and when it's ever extra, I can put it onto this meter here for this building here. So I think it's going to be a great project, and it's going to really help us out in the long run in the environment as well. Adam attended the board meeting last month to answer any questions with the spring work we plan on doing for South Mountain Pass. Last month, we had a discussion about South Mountain Pass work, and he was here to answer any questions that came up. Department received approximately 25 phone calls for the month of January and spent roughly $32,000 on vehicle maintenance. End of report.
I would just like to thank the town highway crew for the incredible job they did. It's rare that I get compliments during snowstorms, but I actually had several people reach out to me and say, please thank the crew. I was able to get out. I just wish it would stop snowing on Sundays because the overtime is really expensive. So if anybody could arrange for a Monday or Tuesday storm, we'd appreciate that. So thank you to the entire crew. I let them know that I did receive compliments. So. Building and land, I have nothing. Cemetery committee. Oh,
One
sorry.
thing on the land, is that tower energized yet up the salt shed? Is it in use? I
I'm
just
not
wonder if
sure.
you knew.
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's the only question I had.
We could
about that.
find out.
Cemetery, really nothing going on. I know Judy and I are on a cemetery committee right now. As far as I know, really nothing to report.
All righty, thank you. So before we get into the agenda this evening, I would just like to welcome our new town attorney, Mary Kate Ephraim. Is that correct? Yes. So welcome. So we searched high and low for a long time, and our attorney was really under our nose on our zoning board. So welcome. You have some big shoes to fill, but I'm completely confident in you, so we look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mary Kate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm very happy to be here with the board. It's a great honor to serve.
It's early in the meeting. Say, we'll see how you feel.
It's your
at the
first
end.
meeting, too, so.
Thank you. Okay, the agenda.
First on the agenda is Stacy Farley to present a short video about the 2025 Sweet Potato Dig Project.
So Stacy, before you begin, I would just like to say the sincere thanks that I have as a supervisor, and I'm sure it's echoed by this board, to you and to Peter and to all the people at Davern Farm, every volunteer that planted a sweet potato or picked a sweet potato and delivered sweet potatoes. The timing was absolutely perfect when we harvest this. There was such insecurity with the SNAP programs. I'm sure you'll get into that as well, but to be able to deliver, and I had the pleasure of delivering sweet potatoes to these communities that didn't know where the food following week. And we were bringing thousands of pounds of nutritious sweet potatoes to Rockland, Westchester, Putnam, the town, Philipstown Pantry. So I couldn't have been more proud of this community and the work that you guys have done. So thank you so much.
Well, is this on? I'm here to thank you. A huge thanks to the board and also the entire community for making it possible for us to have a sweet potato dig on that field on 403 and 9D. It was a great season, and it was a huge harvest, and I have a very short film to show you now.
Imagine if your community could grow 19,000 pounds of food on just 1 acre of land. How would you do it? In June, with the help of volunteers, you plant 1 acre with thousands of sweet potato slips. You plant them by hand, water them, and then, while you are sleeping and working and living your life, the land is making food. With sunshine, water, and time. No machines, no fancy tech, just Earth doing what it has done for thousands of years, growing. 4 months later, you send out the call to your community. It's time to dig. Hundreds of volunteers show up. Teenagers, kids, grandparents, people giving up their Saturday to dig in the dirt. Why? Because everyone deserves good, healthy food. So you get to work. Digging, hauling, weighing, bagging. Every 1,000 pounds, you ring a bell, and you keep on ringing it. Some people work the pitchforks, some carry baskets, some load trucks. After 4 hours, 19,000 pounds of sweet potatoes. A field is a miraculous place. It gives more than it takes. You plant 1 slip, you get many sweet potatoes. The land is so generous. It grows and gives in abundance. So what do you do with 19,000 pounds of sweet potatoes? You give it all away. Every single sweet potato. The land gives freely, and so do you. Because food grown from the land is a gift, one that is meant to be shared. Every bag headed for a food pantry, food bank, or soup kitchen. 47 million Americans are food insecure today. This gift doesn't solve everything, but it's a start. 5 ingredients: land, slips, water, sunshine, and people. What gift can your community grow?
So the film was about 1 acre of land, and in fact, we grew on more than an acre of land. So our total harvest was 25,000 pounds, which went to 21 different food pantries, food banks, soup kitchens, a veterans program, and a school. And many of you participated and helped plant, dig, bag, and deliver the vegetables. So on behalf of the 25,000 people who received this, I want to say thank you.
So I think we should start every meeting with a fun video like this and set them to. So I know the plan is we hope to do it again next year. It seems that we refine it every year and get a little bit bigger and a little more water and a little more help. So whenever you're ready to start, let us know. We'll get the process approved through the town. I also want to thank OSI, who has a conservation easement over that property, who was really helpful in participating with us getting permission to operate. And it fits right in with them. It fits in with the town of Philipstown, and I would love to continue to expand it and keep getting more. I know that's easy for me to say, but not for the workers at the farm. But we look forward to it. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you. Anything from the board?
Just thank you, and thank you to everyone that participated.
No, it just shows it's a community effort.
Yes.
Very,
It was wonderful.
very good thing.
It was one. All righty.
Next on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the town clerk to publish the public notice regarding the upcoming MS4 mapping program per the NRO Wetlands Inspector Max Garfinkel. And if it's okay, I'd like to read the notice also.
So Max, is Max here? I thought he was going to be here. At least he didn't come this evening. So we're just authorizing you to publish this. So
This is just, yeah, if you
Yep.
If you want, I'll read the notice first,
Sure,
and then you
yeah.
can, okay. So this is a public notice to the town of Philipstown regarding the MS4 mapping program. Walden and Environmental Engineering, working for the town of Philipstown, is carrying out the mapping of stormwater system components within the town's municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4, mainly in the Continental Village area of the town. And there's a map attached. It will be posted on our website as well. The purpose of this work is to locate, inspect, and record the conditions of existing stormwater infrastructure under the jurisdiction of the town. Infrastructure such as catch basins, manholes, storm sewer piping, pipe outlets, and stormwater management practices will be mapped during the period of March 2026, potentially into the early summer. During this time, you may see Walden or other town personnel in your neighborhood completing the required infrastructure mapping. Please be mindful of these personnel as they will be working in the roadway right-of-ways and may need to access your property in order to map some of the above-mentioned components. This mapping is required by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation under the current general permit for stormwater discharges from municipal separate storm sewer systems, permit GP 024001. The intent of this mapping is to aid in the community planning, help identify water quality improvement projects, protect public health from surface water contamination, and help to inform town code and zoning updates in addition to many other benefits. It is not necessary for you to be home while the mapping is being conducted. Weather conditions such as heavy rain or weekends could possibly shift surveying work beyond the 72-hour time frame. Thank you for your cooperation in this most worthwhile effort. If you have any questions or concerns, please email stormwater@philipstown.com.
All righty, so we did receive a grant for $75,000 to pay Walden to assist us with this program. My thanks to Max Garfinkel, our Natural Resources Officer, for bringing it to our attention that it is mandated by the state that we do provide this mapping. So could I get a motion that the town board authorize the town clerk to publish the public notice regarding the upcoming MS4 mapping program?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Next is a discussion on the Garrison Landing Water District.
All righty, so before we get too far into this, there is copies of the timeline that the town engineer provided for the work that has been done probably in the last 5 to 6 years at Garrison Landing. So just a brief background on how the town of Philipstown ended up with Garrison Landing. In 1999, whereabouts 99, 2000, Putnam County mandated that the town of Philipstown establish the Garrison Landing Water District. So the water district was established. There was 3 wells that fed the system from 2000 through 2018. Around 17 and 18, we started having issues with the production of some of the wells. They were silting up. There was a lot of demand on the landing. There was a lot of leaks on Garrison Landing, so there was a lot of water usage. So each of the wells failed. We attempted every different possible remedy for these wells. We air fracked, we re-drilled, we drilled deeper, and none of them were able to sustain the usage at Garrison Landing. So then we started to subsidize the water usage with trucked-in water. So we had no option because people that live in Garrison Landing wanted to turn their faucet on and have drinkable water. So the town of Philipstown was mandated to make sure that there was potable water for the Garrison Landing. So during this whole process of subsidizing with water, we never stopped looking for additional water source. So we drilled, and the timeline lays the whole thing out. I won't go through every part of it, but we drilled 1 well on the golf course itself in very close proximity to the treatment facility. It went, I believe, 1,000 feet, and we had 1 gallon per minute. We then went to, in the area of where the farm is on the east side of 9D, drilled another well I believe also 1,000 feet, which is about the maximum that they'll do, again, around 1 gallon per minute. So we then went back to the drawing board. Per the engineer, our town engineer suggested we hire a hydrogeologist to do a scientific review of where we could find water. We located a spot on the golf course itself that OSI owned. We pursued drilling. It was very close to, I don't know the number, if there's golfers here, I don't know the number of the hole, but it's right below where the treatment center is. That came along with issues because it's a municipal well, and when you have a municipal well, you cannot use fertilizer within 200 feet of a municipal well. So it basically eliminated the ability for the Garrison Golf Course, the Highland Golf Course, to remain a 9-hole course. So an 8-hole course is pretty much worthless. So they would not give us the right to drill there. We then had the hydrogeologist seek other land, which he found a spot. It's where we currently have a very high yield, 30 gallon per minute well. Unfortunately, as you well know, it's a good distance from the treatment facility. We drilled it, tested it. It was approved by Putnam County. All this took time. There was a lot of time involved and a lot of effort by the town board, the town engineer. Bobby shouldered a lot of it. We got approval from Putnam County to start using it. We then had to bore under 9D because we weren't allowed to dig through 9D. So we bored under 9D and ran a water line, I forget,
Almost about a quarter mile.
a quarter of a mile
Pretty
from
close.
the well house from the wellhead to the treatment facility. So along with that came the expense of, we had to have a backup generator at the location of the well. We had to have control heads replaced at the wellhead, and the controls were replaced in the treatment facility in order for us to maintain quality water for the Garrison Landing.
We had to run a fiber optic cable as well.
Right, the control lines,
Control
everything were run.
all the
So
way
there,
over,
there was a
so-
lot of work and a lot of money invested. So that doesn't even touch the surface of the amount of water that we purchased on a regular basis to supply the system. During all of this, if you're a resident there, you know how many times you lost water because of a water line breaking. So the worst scenario was the line that broke underneath the railroad tracks. So there's a well pit on the east side of the tracks at the north tip of the railroad station parking, and there's also an access on the other side, and the line went under the tracks. That line broke at some point. We were losing a lot of water, and it was the January, I believe, January, February. Bobby and I were underneath the platform looking for it with our service agent at the time. So it was nonstop. So then we replaced that line. It went through the tunnel. We call it the subway. It went through the subway. It is an insulated, brand-new line. And basically at this point, I believe, I hate to say it, but I believe every line on Garrison Landing has either been replaced, relined, or repaired. So knock wood, I don't know of any leaks currently. We haven't had any warnings of a lot of usage. As of the end of April, early May of 2025, we stopped buying water from Chonsalito. I think we put 4 of their children through college, but again, we had no option. We had to provide drinking water, and it was a great expense to the entire town of Philipstown, and the entire town of Philipstown absorbed that expense. Full fold, full turn. Now it's time we need to remedy that within the town's book. So we need to assign that debt, or as much of it as we possibly could, to the users of the Garrison Landing water. So that's where we are currently. So we came up with this idea to pay down the debt with an initial fee. Kevin, why don't you explain the financial part of it and how we came up with the process and how we went through it?
Yeah, so the town went out to ban,
You should come up to the, yeah.
so the town went out to ban for approximately $500,000 to fund, a portion. It's only a portion of the cost that was incurred by the town. So we went out to ban this year. That debt is now on the books. and is included in the Garrison Landing Water District as an assessment. Our goal, the town's goal, is to refinance that debt in 2026, span it over a longer period of time to reduce the principal payments, as well as, hopefully, depending on where interest rates go, get a lower interest rate and ease the debt servicing to the residents over a longer period of time, which is not great, but it's a little bit less money out of pocket each year. Like John said, there was a ton of work, a ton of cost. This is really just a portion of it, part that we're able to actually go and ban for.
So this, I also asked the town clerk to provide a timeline as to the amount of public discussion that we had in this room about this process. So none of this was done without public input. So May 21, 25 was the initial bond paperwork we received. June 5th, 2025, we had a resolution confirming adoption of a negative declaration under SECRA regarding the borrowing for Garrison Landing water improvements. June 11th, 2025, notice of public hearing was published. June 24th, 2025, public hearing on the borrowing for the proposed increase and improvements of the facilities of Garrison Landing Water District. Another part of the improvements, which you all have meters, that none of them have worked since when the system went from a gravity-fed, surface-fed system, which was outlawed by Putnam County, to the wells. The increased pressure destroyed all of the water meters. So my understanding was there's been no water meter usage or water meters on the landing since the early 2000s. So part of the financing, we are still drawing up bid specs for the financing for the actual meters themselves. We are going to draw up specs, send it out to bid, and hopefully get somebody to bite the bid to actually install each of the 19 or 20 units, if you're using the water, will have a water meter. So you will be paying for your usage metered, just like it is in Continental Village, where we have the water district, and in the village of Cold Springs. So we haven't established rates, but there'll be a rate per gallon, and you'll each pay your share of what the usage is. So it'll also, not that I'm accusing anybody of wasting water, but if you're paying for the water by the gallon, you're going to make sure your toilets aren't leaking. And I know you're all good about it because you never wanted to lose water, and often it would happen. One toilet, I don't know what the gallon usage is, but it can, if a leaking toilet is going on, it could use a ton of water. There's been all kinds of speculation about the usage that Dolly's was using, but the interesting thing about it, Semco, who does the service down there, also services Dolly's sewer system. So what's coming in is going out. So we knew the gallon usage of Dolly's, and you'd be surprised. It was lower than you would expect. So a lot of blame got placed on Dolly's for water usage, but it really wasn't them. So just wanted to get that out there. So hopefully in the next, certainly in the 2026 calendar year, we're going to have water meters installed. I know some of the residents don't use the water. They're on a well. They've drilled. I've received emails that some of them have drilled wells, which I can't say I blame anybody if you were losing water. But if you're part of the district, you're subject to the price that comes along with it. It's no different than having no kids in the school district. You're still paying school taxes, but you would not get a water meter, and obviously will not be paying a usage fee. So I'm going to open it up to questions. We're going to keep it quick, and we'll get through this as quickly as possible because we have a lot of stuff on the agenda. Does anybody have a question? I have Brian Kenny is here from the assessor's office. If there's any questions regarding parcels, and Kevin and I and the board can answer anything else. If you have a question, if you could come up to the mic and give us your name, please. If you want to be heard, you need to be.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here to say what I want to say. And I hear everything is roses out here in our conversation, how you're setting it up for tonight, which I'm a pretty good speaker, but I'll give it a try. But what it is, it has to do with transparency.
Who are you?
Yeah, that's, well, I don't know. I want to go on record about the water rate increase imposed by the town of Philipstown's Water District at the landing. Residents were not properly served notice of this increase. There was no clear mailing. There are no meaningful outreach, no reasonable opportunity for residents to understand or respond before it was enacted. The only way I discovered it was the raise of the tax bill after the decision had already been made. The increase itself is considerable, and the notice embedded in the tiny print on a tax form is not transparency. This is not public engagement. This is not due process. People deserve to know when their costs are going up exceptionally for an essential service like water, bearing the significant increase in price after the fact is undermined, since when opportunity after the fact was heard. The principle of violation. Taxation without representation is not just a slogan, it's a principle. When principles are implemented without clear notice or an opportunity to be heard, that principle is violated. I'm asking the board to explain how the process was considered acceptable and what steps will be taken to ensure that no further increase and imposed without clear direction and time notice to the people who pay the bills. Okay. And I think there should be, all this money that was taken out should be put back to the people in there, because we did a lot of this under duress, and a lot of people have signed their checks that way. And properly, we've had issues with the whole system there for many, many years. And it keeps happening. But what's important here, now that it looks like we're going to be fixed here, yes, we knew had to pay for this, but we have to do it fairly. It's not fairly in how it was done. $2,500, boom, like that, and plus penalties if you didn't get it, you paid on time. And that's unfair to the community, to the people that live down there. And I know we have to pay our own bills, but I think that it's, I want to say something. I think it should be given, the money should be given back. Get a proper group of people who can use mathematics for affording the real cost of what's down there, and then spread it out or have come up with a formula that we can, I live in there, I'm one person. The only water I drink is from the castle, and I use it for the bathroom and the kitchen. That's what I use my one. And there's other people that have families, but I'm saying we need to go back and look at it and price it fairly. I have no complaints about that, but price it fairly, get us involved, and have, I think, a committee to look at it and give us an opportunity to work with you to make it happen.
First of all, as far as the transparency go, I read the list of public meetings that we had where this was discussed. So is it our responsibility to go knock on every door to say we're going to discuss this tonight? Or, because whenever there was a loss of water, nobody had any trouble getting in touch with us. So, and the other part of it is the entire town has been sharing the expense of this. Right or wrong, the entire town has been absorbing the costs because the 19 parcels that are there couldn't touch the surface of what this actually cost.
I'm not interested in it.
What's that?
Because we have the fire department. We all share money.
We've spent $2 million buying trucked-in water. You're only picking up a small portion of that. So for the rest of the town to be...
All right, so
okay,
if that was the case, you should have given us an opportunity to look at it, and you tell us this is where the numbers are. You did not have any numbers. It's like you pulled it out of the sky and say you're going to be paying $2,500 a year for your water. Okay. That's a pretty shock.
From 2000 to 2018, you paid basically nothing for the water that we were providing to you. 2018 to 2024, we were paying for trucked-in water. We had no choice but to provide you with drinking water.
You're missing the point.
No, I think
Because
you're missing the
You're saying
point.
to
I
me
think you're
about
missing.
this, and the reality of it is, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about due process and having this opportunity
I
to.
read the list of due process. Public hearing on the borrowing of proposed increase in improvements was June 24th, 2025. There was an open public discussion about the water. Our meetings, we have minutes of the meetings, which you can get from the clerk's office. We have a video of the meeting. The meetings are televised. If I lived there and I knew I was getting trucked water, I'd be paying close attention to what's going on and who's paying for this. Nobody seemed to care about that at that point. But the minute the tax bills come, I knew we were going to face this, and we had a thought of sending out a letter ahead of time. This is coming, this is why. It would have been no different. People ignore what we send most of the time anyway, until they get a bill. When they get a bill and it costs money, that's when we hear about it.
So what do you think about having to reorganize it and properly look at, how are you going to break this down? Not everybody's, is everybody getting it? I mean, we'll eventually get it, but a way to work it so it's fairer with people who have 5 people in their homes.
Well, you're going to have a water meter, and you're going to pay usage based on your use. That's the idea. Currently, there is none, and we charged the total budget for the Garrison Landing Water District from 2000 to 2018 was a total of $20,000.
So you want to go ahead and put it in meters?
Yes, sir.
And are you going to work with us and tell us, what's going on when it's happening? And what the cost
We
is?
tell everybody what goes on right here in this room. We're here every week. We discuss this publicly. Nothing is done behind closed doors. This has been a complete public discussion from day one.
I didn't say behind boarded doors to what you were saying. The reality is, what I'm just trying to get through is that it wasn't done with due process and letting people know and make sure, because I didn't get a lot of this stuff, and I only found it. And why then did you put the smallest print on the bottom of that in your taxes?
The bill, sir, so I have no idea how big the print was.
Well, I'm just saying that. Anyway, it's not going anyplace. I expressed myself, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Anybody else? And I don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. Yes, Neil, come on up to the desk.
Neil Zuckerman, in this example, I guess 21 Lower Station Road. It's weird to be down here. I sit up there for 13 years in your seat, so I technically work for you, John, so I'll be as gentle as I can.
You work for the town of Philipstown.
What's that? Well, you get to appoint me among.
And nobody will take your job anyway, Neil.
I'd love to give it to someone. If anyone would like to be the chair of the planning board, I'll take names anytime. Anyway, Heather and I own 21 Lower Station Road, the brick building on the east side of the tracks. We bought it in 2018. This is not a residence like Rodney's. This is a business. We operate a business. It has an apartment upstairs, 3 offices downstairs, and maybe we'll add something to the dilapidated garage to the south of the building. The reality is, I'm not going to repeat or even address the transparency or lack of that. I think that's a matter of civic engagement. I will say to you, though, this. The water bill was $832 a year. It's $208, I think, a quarter. Yes. No, I'm telling you it is. No, it's okay.
So I'm not
No,
sure.
well, we send you the money. So anyway, it's $208 a quarter.
Not me.
Yes.
That goes to Sioux County.
What? That's what I said, 208. Anyway, $832 a year. So we've now had a 200% increase to the $2,500. And I don't know, it sounds like you don't know either, yet what this water bill will be increased on the metering.
No.
And I will tell you that is already what I would describe as a 10% cut in the profits of this already very small 4 to 5% profit business. The Landing is not an easy place to run a business. I think Dolly's can tell you that. I don't know if Peter is here, Hoffman, for the Garrison Hotel, but it is not an easy business to run. This is not Cold Spring. This is certainly not Peekskill. We get rents for our apartment and our offices, but they are not easy to rent. We had our office vacant for 4 months, 5 months, and so to have a 10% cut in an already very small, profitable business is difficult on a small business, and this is a small business. It's also not great for a business to have unpredictable costs. We all admit freely we don't know what the metering is. Is it another $100 a month? Is it $500 a month? We don't know. I don't know. It's hard to predict how to run a business if I don't know if I'm going to go from being profitable to unprofitable.
I know the feeling. It's hard to run the town when we don't know what we're facing either, so, but.
Except the town is not a business. The town is a not-for-profit or a government, and as you know, I'm
We
deeply...
do have to balance our budget every year. Right.
Having been the chair of the finance committee of the MTA with a $20 billion budget, I'm very familiar with that topic.
Right.
But having unpredictability is not helpful to run a business. A question I'd like you to ask when I'm finished is, I don't actually understand who is paying. I know there's 19 some odd parcels, as you've described. They're owned in part by not-for-profits, government organizations, and the like. I don't know if it's fairly shared across all of them, but it'd be interesting to know that. But I will tell you this piece. I understand your point that town has paid for the water to ship in. And there are some things that are individual obligations, and there are some other things that are communal obligations. I know I've heard folks in this dais describe, I'll just give an example, the unbelievable pain and cost of repaving, for example, South Mountain Pass over and over again, particularly at one tricky turn. But that person who lives at that corner ain't paying for that turn. We're all paying for it. And I would say, and I, as the chair of the...
And that argument, I'd say, but we all use those roads. We're not all using
Well, we're
your
not using
water.
them all. If I take it once a year...
But you have the ability to use it. I can't
But
come and
let
drink
me,
your
let me
water,
finish
but
my
go ahead.
point, though. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just sharing a perspective. But I will tell you that, and as the former chair of the Historical Society, I deeply understand the history of this community. And the center of this community is Garrison's Landing, right? That's why we get our name from John Garrison and the hotel, et cetera, et cetera. That landing is a center point of people's activities. It is the closest thing we have to a downtown, if you will, of the hamlet of Garrison, which is obviously unincorporated. We now are then funding the viability. When I say we, those of us paying this, what I would describe as a large increased piece. And I do think there is merit in thinking about how we continue to find a greater cost sharing of this item. Because, as I said earlier, if it turns out that I can't make money now running this business, I'm going to be forced to sell this thing or turn it into a not-for-profit, which is bad in multiple levels for all of us. So the cost is high. It was largely introduced. When you go from $800 to $2,500, that's not a small increase. It wasn't gradually introduced. And the burden is not being shared by the rest of the town. It may have been historically, given the years you've mentioned,
Well,
but
not by choice. I mean, we had no choice but to buy water, so we
understood.
had no
I'm
choice
just- I'm just saying-
financially. If we were to take all of that debt and place it on the 20 parcels, you wouldn't want to know what that would cost.
I can do the division. I got
And
it.
the rest of the people that live in the remainder of the town would probably appreciate us not using that way. But we had no.
There's many
choice.
examples of things. I think your school point is a good one. It would be wonderful if those who don't have kids in the school, or those of us who had to send our kids to private school, didn't have to pay the school bill. It's not dissimilar to this situation. So look, I've shared my points. Do with them what you will. I would appreciate understanding of who is paying and who is not.
So there's, and Brian can explain this, there are 20 parcels. I have a list of the 20 parcels. Many are owned by the Garrison Station Plaza, so that's a group of them. I mean, I can read off the list of it. The list is available. We can provide the list of names. I don't want to do it tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd appreciate it.
But there's 20 parcels that are on the list of homes.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, and they're all paying the same amount. Anything else, anything different? Yes, sir. Come on up to the microphone, please.
I'm Delmar Carlin. I live in Garrison, and I'm with the Garrison Station Plaza, the company you just mentioned. I'd like to ask a couple of questions of the controller. I think we were invited to do that in the message that we sent out.
That's what we're here for.
So, it's been reported that you said 2 million. There was a report of 2.4 million. Can you break down what the money's been spent for, please?
I don't have a breakdown of what the costs were over the past, 7, 8 years.
We can certainly
pull
provide
together.
that.
I don't have what it is, but like John said, just the cost of the truck and water was between $2 and $3 million. And then there was incremental costs for all the repairs and damages that the town had to fund, and that was all funded through the general fund.
We also applied a portion of our sales tax sharing with Putnam County, and we put the ARPA money towards some of the drilling as well.
Yeah, so.
I'm not disputing that you did it. Understand that, I'm just trying to understand. Well, the next question then is, I did a FOIL request and asked for the budget for the Garrison Landing Water District, since there's so much money now. And I got something that had 3 lines, $47,000 for contractual, whatever that means. I think 20 for debts,
50,000.
principal, and
It's
30 for
50,000
whatever.
Debt service.
And that was all. And right next to it on the budget is Continental Village, and it's broken down to what they're really spending the money on.
It's a different setup. Continental Village Water District is a completely different animal than this one is. But we are aiming to process a budget. This will be the first year going into 2026 and into 2027 when we refinance it. We're also going to establish the cost of operating the water meters, installing the water meters, and then there will be a return on the water meters as well. So that's all in the process.
And if I just want to add on to that too as well. So the 47,000 is for the ongoing water testing and maintenance of Garrison Landing Water District, specific to that district. The cost is there because the district can only be charged their costs. So similar to what the supervisor was saying, is the cost for the Garrison Landing Water District was technically meant to be and should have been charged solely to the Garrison Landing Water District residents. And so, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything, it's not public. We got audited by New York State and we took a beating because we had those costs spread across the town. And New York State requires the cost for that district to be burdened by the people in that district. So we are now moving forward based on the New York State audit and making sure we are capturing the cost for the Garrison Landing Water District within the district and charging those residents. The budget you talked about was to capture the 47,000 for water testing and ongoing maintenance.
So that's one flat
And
fee
then-
for somebody, the 47,000?
We
For
pay,
the company?
we pay Semco to do it
Yeah.
most of the time, and then we also have an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Cold Spring, because Semco could not provide the testing on weekends and holidays. So we have an agreement with the Village of Cold Spring, and they cover us on weekends and holidays, which we also pay for.
And then there's the debt service portion of it. Like the supervisor said, within 26, when the meters are installed, we'll be generating an estimated amount of revenue. We'll have to determine what our water rate's gonna be, so that work is still yet to be done. That process of it is still yet to be done. In terms of all the money, don't be misled by the conversation of the $500,000 that we had to go out to ban. That money was already spent, and it was really basically refunding money that was spent by the general fund for the town-wide portion of it. So there is really no money sitting in the Garrison Landing Water District because it had already been spent just refunding funds that were, laid out by the town.
I want to make a couple of comments. Thank you.
District back over to you, Del, because you ran it for how many years before the
Well, I
town?
wasn't going to say that, but I do
We all
know
know.
something about it. And I'm going to quibble a little bit with some of your history. The people who live at the landing petitioned in the mid-90s to create the district because they saw the capital expense coming and they knew they couldn't take it, and they'd like to have been able to use the town's borrowing authority at a low rate to pay for things instead of having to do it privately at a much higher rate. Before the town took over the water district, the users did it themselves in a very informal way, but they divided up shares. They tried to figure out who should pay what of the various users, people who were actually using the water, and then they paid the ongoing bills. They just did it informally and they paid the bills.
I wish it were that simple.
Well, my impression is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the $20,000 you talked about, which I think was annually, wasn't it?
Yes, which for year after year after year, I was told, and Richard had the same opinion, and so did Bill Mazuka, that was the maximum we could charge for that district. And then when we were audited last year by the state, I said, look, we couldn't possibly charge anymore. The state, it could not be found anywhere as to where, and they just didn't agree with that. And the biggest difference in my historical review of when we took this over and why, there was some sort of Board of Health reason that Putnam County forced us to take it over and to go from a groundwater system to wells. Somewhere, you would know, 1999 to 2000, somewhere in
I can refine that a little bit.
Right.
When the town first took it over, we continued to use the surface water.
Right.
The spring, it was great. There was no.
But that was before
very costly.
2000. At some point, they mandated.
Yes, in some point, I think it was more closer to 2005. There was a change in the law, and that's when the town decided
We
to.
found 2000, but I believe it was, but it could be different.
And it was sometime after that. At first, at least, it was the old gravity system.
Right. We now use it to water the sweet potatoes. That old system is what's watering the sweet potato.
You serious?
The stream that comes down from.
It wasn't a stream, it was a spring.
Oh, that's also on that same property, though.
Yes, it's on the same property, and it had a pipe under 9D. But anyway, where I was going with that was, my guess is, and this is where you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you've been billing out the $20,000 to various people.
Right.
And I guess you did it on some sort of share basis, because I know Garrison Station Plaza pays $18.75 a quarter. That's $7,500 a year we've been paying, and we've been paying it. Because we have more units than Neil Zuckerman, for example.
5, I believe you guys have 5 units.
So that was rough justice in the old way, at least in terms of dividing up what people were paying. I think the problem people have now is, notwithstanding what you said about meetings, they were surprised by this. And I do have one very serious quibble here.
Okay.
You referred to the public hearing on June 24th. Well, notice of that did not get published. Here is the Putnam County News for that day.
An affidavit from the Putnam County News stating that it was
Well,
published.
there's the page.
Would you like
and
to
it's
see
not
my
there.
affidavit that was signed by
I'm
the
not-
person at the
I'm not
Putnam
saying-
County News
I'm not-
stating that it was published?
I'm not saying that. I looked and looked and looked. And this is the only notice for Philipstown was June 11th notice for a meeting on June 11th. That's the only one here. There are lots of formation of LLCs and other things.
That's a different section of the paper.
Yeah, there's,
That's,
This is a legal section.
there you go.
Yeah.
There's the
Legal
public
notices.
notice.
I also looked through every page of that issue.
There were periods where the Putnam County News was not printed last
Well,
summer.
but-
I can't speak for the Putnam County News, but I have an affidavit from them stating it was published.
I'm just saying, I'm not accusing anybody in particular of anything. I was going to start, but you took the wind out of my sails by identifying me. That we know you've worked very hard, and the two of you in particular, but many people in the town has done a lot.
Right.
And we appreciate that. In fact, I remember calling you one day because I thought I'd found a leak,
Yes.
and you were already on it.
Yes.
That was great.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time down there for a long time.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you did. But people were surprised. The public, so-called public hearing, I call it so-called because I don't think there was proper notice, in fact, no matter whose fault it was. It lasted 14 minutes. I've got the minutes.
Yeah, 'cause
It only lasted 14 minutes because nobody was there, because people didn't know. And then it was when somebody called me up and said, I got this tax bill and there's an extra $2,500. It's a big multiple of my charges. And so I started looking into it. I also looked, just for my own interest, I looked at the assessment roll, because that's where you look to see what your taxes are going to be. And the assessment roll for 2025 breaks things down. The assessed value for the school district, the assessed value for the town, for the county, for the fire district. And in the 2025 one, there's a line, Garrison Water. The number next to it is 0. So people were caught by surprise. I know you did have meetings. The Putnam County News had an article about this, but it was on the 24th. the day you had the hearing.
And I'm sure the Highland Current did something on it too,
They
because
did as well, that was earlier,
I mean,
but that wasn't the official notice.
there's only so much we can do to notify the public, but we do whatever we can to keep people informed. Anytime there was a leak, I would call Ed. Ed, there's a leak, there's going to be a shut-off. We had a list, I would call,
I'm not
I don't have your
disputing any of
number, but
that.
I would call Shelley Boris, I would call whoever I could
not
think of,
disputing any of that.
the Yanatelli. Right. So
So-
we did what we could, so.
So, the other thing is, I think the notice, as I got it, as it was drafted, talks about borrowing money for proposed improvements. Well, that's about borrowing, and it's about proposed improvements in the future. So that didn't tell anybody you're going to get another big tax bill. So I don't think there was adequate notice by any stretch of the imagination. So what I think, I echo Rodney on this, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board and do it right, do it fairly, and fairness is the last thing I'll say. Garrison Station Plaza has 6 parcels, actually. We got 6 bills. 3 of them do not have water service at all.
Right,
They're
and you
not
would not be-
connected, they're not connected. Let me finish, please. One of them, in fact, is mostly submerged land under the Hudson River, and you can't even get to it.
Is that the yacht club or no?
No, it's south of the yacht club. There's 6 acres, it's mostly submerged.
Right.
There's a tiny bit of upland, but you have to cross the railroad tracks to get to it. So you can't do anything with it. It's
Right.
not big enough to do anything. But $2,500 for that. I think there are other parcels I've heard of similarly. You can't do anything with them, there's nothing on them, but they're getting the same. So I think that is not fair, in my opinion.
Well,
Fairness is the metering,
Go ahead.
and for actual use, I have no problem with that.
Right.
But just saying, well, you're within this map, therefore you pay, that's not right.
So the argument, I mean, and as the budget officer, the nut is the same, okay? So if there's 20 parcels paying the nut, it's so much. If we take one out because if it's argued it's not a usable lot, the other 19 are going to go up because the bill still has to be paid. So regardless, we could certainly look into that. I know I had a call from somebody else that one lot is very small. Is it something that should be paying? Right now, it's yes. Until somebody proves it otherwise, we'll have to work that out. But the cost is the cost, so it would just be redistributed amongst the remaining 18.
I understand that principle and the state law does allow you to just do it parcel by parcel. But it also favors doing it according to the benefit received. And I think the splitting up shares was benefit received. Just doing it all parcels, whether they have service, whether they're developable, that is not fair. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Tara, I called today, and I was going to come and tell you about this in advance, but you'd gone. Yeah.
Anything else? Is there anything else anybody would like to add that's not the same line of thought?
I'd just like a question. How did everyone know about this meeting tonight?
We knew about tonight because there were hand-delivered letters.
Right. Yeah. I did that. I put it in everyone's mailbox.
Thank you.
John, I have one procedural.
Sure. Anything from the board, we're here.
Okay.
Could we all just pay attention to what's here, please? Thank you.
Yeah, my question is procedural. I have a letter from a resident of Garrison who has sent this letter in. You've seen it's in the email. We've seen it. It's dated January the 5th. This is Kyle Good, who lives at 85 Lower Station Road, wanted this letter to be read into the record. I'm happy not to waive reading the letter.
Right,
but I could.
We all read the letter. The letter basically says they drilled a well, they don't use the water, and they don't feel that they should pay. That's not the way it works. The example I gave in the beginning, you have kids in school, you don't have kids in school, you still pay school tax. They will not get a water meter, and they will not get a water bill, but they're still part of the.
So do I need to give this to Tara so it's in the record?
I was gonna say, I did not receive a copy of that letter, so maybe, I'm not copied on anything, so.
We all got it.
If you want it entered into the record, make sure you copy.
Is that it? Anybody else?
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Thank you. Next on the agenda.
Next on the agenda is a resolution approving the 2026 personal service agreement for the town engineer, Ron Gaynor.
So we all use Ron on a regular basis. He is a wealth of knowledge, provides us with great guidance and great engineered plans. I certainly support this. Can I get a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign personal services agreement with Ronald Gaynor for 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you to Ron.
Next is a resolution approving the 2026 Continental Village Fire Department contract.
Wonderful group of gentlemen and ladies that provide a great service to the Continental Village area and the surrounding communities. Very strong, well-run operation. Can I get a motion supporting the contract with the Continental Village Fire Department?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Sorry. Next is a resolution approving the 2026 agreement with Max Garfinkel, Wetlands Inspector and Natural Resource Officer.
Again, a wonderful resource for the town of Philipstown. Max is very knowledgeable, comes out with a perfect attitude and demeanor. Can I get a motion to support Max Garfinkel as the Wetlands Inspector and Natural Resources Officer for the 2026 calendar year?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the Putnam County Real Property Tax Service contract for 2026. If you recall, we did this has been on the agenda twice before, and they were gonna revise it, and then they decided not to revise it, so it's the same as it was.
Okay, this is a yearly event. Can I get a motion supporting that I sign the Putnam County Real Property Tax Service contract for 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution reappointing Jim Olson and Gordon Casement to the Board of Assessment Review, terms to expire September 20th, 2030.
This is not a term, this is a session, a life sentence. Yeah. I appreciate the work that that board does, and Gordon runs a tight ship. What a great resource. Again, a professional assessor in another community, and he assists the town of Philipstown with this. So my appreciation to Gordon and to Jim Olson. Can I get a motion appointing Jim Olson and Gordon Casement to the Board of Assessment Review, a term ending September 30th, 2030?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a discussion of the proposed updates to the Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution.
Okay, prior to this discussion, I would like to get a motion from the group to go into a private consultation with Mary Kate, the town attorney, for professional legal advice.
Can I ask how long that consultation will take? Because we have a lot of people here for that discussion item.
I have no idea how long that's going to take. I can't even estimate that, so.
And the subject is,
The subject is the discussion, the legal opinion and advice for this resolution and policy.
well, we have a lot of people here too.
I understand that. Mhm. I'm sorry?
Why don't you hear the discussion from the public first?
Well, I asked the board for a motion to go into legal consultation. If you'd like to speak, you can come up to the microphone. Would anybody like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss this with legal counsel?
I make that motion.
Would anybody second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Motion to go back, come out of legal consultation.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you for hanging around, and, I have spent a lot of hours here today thinking about this whole process, and I did write up what I wanted to say, because it was, I like to go off the cuff and not use notes, because I sometimes do much better without notes, but I did write down a bunch of things that I wanted to get out, so you understand where I am and where I feel that the town of Philipstown needs to be. So if you give me 1 second. I want to assure you that I share the same fears about the state of this country that everybody else does here. I wake up, I watch the news every morning. I'm up way too early. I spend an hour or longer watching several different networks and was astonished by what happened in Minneapolis and what's happening elsewhere in the country. So I want everybody to understand that I have the same fears that you do, and I have the same desire to defend not only residents and community members, but every human being. If you don't know my background, I was a paramedic for several years. I worked in the city of Paterson, New Jersey. If you asked anybody the way I treated a crack junkie laying in the street the same way as I would treat my own kids. So don't question my respect for humanity and for humans. So I'm going to start there. With that said, I have legitimate legal concerns about the proposed policy before us. The bulk of my concerns surround the fact that we are a town-level government with a defined list of roles and responsibilities. We are sworn to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the New York State. The town board and I are responsible, per the New York State Code Book, which I had out all day today, the general management and control of town finances. That includes for us 34 full-time employees, 18 part-time employees, which we all are part-time, and hundreds of seasonal staff. We control the highway department, roads, and several pieces of equipment, recreation department, staff, facilities, programming, and participants. We work with 6 emergency service agencies, 2 water districts, which we discussed this evening, 1 park district. We manage and establish land use laws and oversee the zoning, planning, and conservation boards. Our priority is to ensure the health and safety of our employees, residents, and visitors of the community, as well as a host of other day-to-day events that certainly pop up. We had the Depot Theater run out of oil today, so because they can't keep enough oil in the tank to keep it supplied because of the cold weather. So just some of the stuff we do. What we do not do is retain any immigration or naturalization records. Every record that is stored in this building, excluding personnel files and medical records, are public information and can be requested by anyone per New York State law. We do not have any jurisdiction over Philipstown Court, and we also do not establish or control operating policy for any policing agency. We have a role, and it's clear to me. Despite my personal concerns to provide security and respect for everyone, I do not feel that this is our responsibility as a town board, and it jeopardizes the stability and rights of the town and employees. I do not see a scenario where this proposed policy will provide any security. I see this as a symbolic effort now, just like I saw it in 2017. So I cannot and will not support this policy going forward. That's my statement. I will open it up to the board. We will have limited discussion from the public. We don't want to spend the entire evening discussing this. There is a lot of emotion in the room, to say the least. And I expressed my feelings at the beginning, but I think we have a careful responsibility to protect the town of Philipstown as well. So that is my feeling. I will open it up to the rest of the board.
I would like to say something. Thank you, Supervisor Van Tassel. I appreciate your comments and also your fears for our country, because I think a lot of us fear what's going on in our country today. As the daughter of an immigrant who never closed the door behind him, and as a former board member, I was a board member of the Emerald Isle Immigration Center, an immigrant support agency recognized throughout the United States and New York. I know the challenges that immigrants face. And tonight's proposal, the proposal that I wanted to introduce because over 30 residents contacted me. People contacted me via email. I didn't hear about it on social media, heard about it via email, on the streets in the town, that people wanted the town to do something. But it's not about immigration policy. It's about protecting resident data. It's about requiring judicial process, which residents are entitled to under the Constitution. and to make sure our town staff aren't sharing residents' information. And I'm not talking about immigration status. That's not what we collect. We have personal data. We have it, the town clerk has it, the recreation department, there are a lot of people enrolled in programs, and the buildings department. At previous town board meeting last spring, a resident asked the town board if we could update the 2017 resolution, given the times that we live in. And at that meeting, a town board member said the resolution was meaningless because it did not have teeth. Well, first of all, the Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution introduced by then Deputy Town Supervisor Nancy Montgomery was not meaningless. It said something during difficult times. And it is true, however, that it does need teeth. So therefore, I'm asking Philipstown Board, my colleagues on the Philipstown Town Board, to vote on the Philipstown Equal Protection Resolution amended in 2026. This updated resolution will govern the release of residents' personal data. It will cover the courts, and it includes accountability. And yes, the courts, it's true, the courts do not have, we don't have jurisdiction over judicial decisions, but we do over the staff of the courts. They are under the town board. And some town board members may not agree with me. I understand that and appreciate you have your own views. But I also want to say we do not, saying that we don't have a police department, therefore we don't need a resolution, is not an argument that I accept, because we do have staff with programs such as children and youth programs, senior programs, after-school programs, before-school programs, and we've all seen across the country how children are snatched. Some will say we do not need the resolution updated because we have no information on immigration status, but again, we have personal data. It doesn't change our values as a community. It protects all of us by protecting resident data. This updated resolution does not block criminal warrants. It does not interfere with state or federal law. It does not create a sanctuary city. It does not require collecting immigration data. This update to the 2017 Equal Protection Resolution makes our Equal Protection Resolution real by protecting resident data, covering courts, the staff, and it requires judicial warrants before any cooperation with civil immigration enforcement. Philipstown has always led on policies that move us forward as a community. We have led in so many ways. Let's not fall behind. Thank you to the fearless leaders who have already stood up throughout the Hudson Valley and New York State. Putnam County Legislator Nancy Montgomery, Assemblywoman Dana Levenberg, who's introduced state legislation, Governor Kathy Hochul, who's introduced state legislation, and the countless county and town leaders throughout the region who are standing up. I'm thinking of all of you, and especially all of our residents here in Philipstown. Thank you.
Judy, I can't agree with you more that something needs to be done. And I commend Assemblywoman Levenberg as well. And again, that's where it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed at the state level. It needs to be fixed at the federal level. We cannot refuse to give out records. Anybody can foil any record that the town of Philipstown has. I can't explain that anymore. I did have a conversation with one of the town justices about our authority to control or dictate to the town court. We have absolutely no authority. So no matter what we write, we do not have the right to control town court. And I will say, I disagree with the resolution that was passed in 2017. It was strictly symbolic. And to prove it was symbolic, we have not had a single request for information since 2017, and it's never been enacted. So it is a symbolism. It is completely symbolic. So, anybody else on the board?
Well, I'd like to say too, I mean, I'm not, what's going on in the country here is very disturbing to me and everyone here as well, but we're in Philipstown here. We control what we can in Philipstown. Like his supervisor said, it's just I voted against it in 2017. I won't support it this time around either. It's a symbolic thing to do, and I just don't think there's any place for us in Philipstown to move this any further.
I would challenge anybody to give me a scenario where this will actually provide protection for anybody. When we go through anything, any discussion here, there's always risk versus benefit. There's a great risk to the town by implementing this.
What's the risk?
Okay. Mary Kate, would you like to give us a legal opinion as to what the risk would be?
Here we go, I'll get you.
And we're not going to have people screaming out from the audience. If you have something to say, you come to the mic and say it, please. Thank you.
The risk is that we are directing town employees to put themselves at risk of arrest and conviction for obstruction of justice or harboring an undocumented alien. These are federal felonies. And I don't see a distinction of civil enforcement, civil immigration enforcement activities versus any other kind. They are civil proceedings. That's how they exist at law, but they are absolutely protected by law. If we don't maintain certain types of information, this policy directs employees. So, for example, an immigration subpoena, give me this information. If we don't maintain it, we can just say that in the answering of the subpoena. Technically, the town employee would have the right to say, I'm not cooperating. In that case, the immigration enforcement officer would go commence a lawsuit, federal court, to enforce the subpoena. And now we've named a town employee as a defendant in a federal case for no reason. So the other concern here is our employees have protected speech. It's hard to imagine a scenario where, you know, they would be asked to give information that they only got in the course of their duties. And even so, would they be prevented from having a conversation with a law enforcement officer about public information? So that is the threat of risk to the town, is if you are putting the town at risk of suit by its employees for chilling their First Amendment rights, or if we attempted to discipline someone for actually violating them. Asking employees to make split-second decisions that could get them injured or sent to prison. I believe the policy is too vague to be useful to employees. What information are we seeking to not provide? Like, what is this information that the town is collecting and holding that is somehow non-public, that would be the subject of a nice subpoena? Do you see what I mean? If the point of a policy directing employees to act in a certain way is to help them make decisions, to me, this only confuses them.
If a person, excuse me, Mary Kate, comes in with a mask on and asks for personal data where Johnny Smith's family lives, or goes to our rec center where kids are in programs and hangs out there because they know their children are enrolled in programs.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I think the employees can say, I don't know, instead of giving out information. I don't see how they're obstructing.
If they want to say, I don't know, of course they can. Of course they can say, I don't have to talk to you. That's a scenario that could arise. Another scenario could be where ICE is pursuing someone and the employee says, no, you can't come in here, and gets injured. You know, I don't know if the ICE is in that position is actually allowed, if they're in an active operation, to go where they believe they need to go under their authority. And that's the problem with the policy, is like it covers all the enforcement activities, whether we perceive them to be legitimate or not. And it doesn't give the employees the opportunity to make a careful decision in real time.
Yeah, if you'd like to come on up.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, Liz, but before anybody from the audience, is there any other discussion from the board? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right.
Ned and Nat, you haven't had an opportunity.
Thanks, John. I want to start by saying I pretty much entirely agree with you and with you. You know, and I think that's because.
Well, now that you sit up here, you can't do that.
No, I know, and you've spoken to, and as well with you.
Actually,
I'm certain that all of our hearts are very much in the right place. And I ran for this position in part because I like our town, I wanted to pitch in and see what I can do, and also in part because I was so fed up with what's going on big picture, I wanted to try to do something. And so I'm very much in a do something mode. And so here we have this resolution, and we also, we have a town attorney, and there are a lot of concerns about about the wording of this thing. It doesn't mean that there are concerns about the sentiment of the thing. And I think with some time, we can, as a board, we'll have to decide if we want to do it, but I propose that we work toward some sort of statement that works legally, that doesn't leave us out on a limb, but also addresses the sentiment of our great, I'll call it, disgust of the behavior of our federal government.
Can I just?
Yeah.
I think there's a huge difference between the statement. I think our statements all align.
Yes.
And if we made a public statement about our distaste for what's going on in the nation, I don't think that would subject us to the same scrutiny that developing a policy for handling it would be.
And
Is
that
that
may be
correct, Mary Kate? If we made a public statement, if we drafted a statement that we're unhappy with what's going on versus a policy, I don't think we'd be subjected to as much scrutiny.
No teeth.
Well, it might have teeth in that we are the local government for the operation of our local community, right? With the resources that we have. If there is a policy at the state level where they do have the right to, work with state police or training of county police, like, maybe the solution for the town is, let's get behind that one. Let's help make that happen.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, which is
And that's our speech, right?
And I was talking with Dana Levenberg's office, Assembly Member Levenberg's office today. There are a few more, but there are three main bills that take on this issue in a variety of ways that she and her office really support. And our support of that effort is not nothing, If we could get behind New York for All, Dignity, Not Detention, and the MELT Act, and we say, we Philipstowners believe in these things and we want to see them passed, that can help affect that kind of change that I think will matter to the people we're talking about here. I talked to Putnam County Sheriff Brian Hess the other day. I called him up and he called me back, and it's very strange to get a call from the sheriff. I'd forgotten I'd called him, and I go, "There's a sheriff." Whoa!
And you thought you were in trouble.
Well, I said to the kids, "What have you done?" It was an informal conversation. But I said, the governor has this proposal going forward. If that were to be enacted, would that alter what you do? And he said, we don't have any 287G contracts with ICE. That it wouldn't really alter the course of our ship already. We're moving in a direction, in sort of the right direction, as it were, that appeal to our, my sentiment, my concerns. So I think if we could give our formal support to some of the efforts that are underway that are going to have real effect and real change, I would love to lead the way. I would love to see us do that, and I think that's not nothing. I think that is a few teeth right there. And I would like to continue an ongoing discussion about what our policies are regarding these issues. It doesn't seem like they're the kind of things that can be decided at a single meeting. But that also doesn't mean we're sweeping them under the rug or shying away from our duties. I can't shake the conversation we just had. I can't look at Mary Kate and say, well, I, as a former reporter, know a lot more about the legal business than you do, so never mind what you said. You know, that it strikes me as irresponsible. But yeah, that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you. Nat?
Okay.
I just want to thank you all for coming. I don't think the town hall has been this full ever. And if it's for the first time you've been here, okay. I think if it's legal hurdles that we're trying to get over so that we can in fact do something that we all want to do, I think I'm sure we can manage that. I think there are an awful lot of people working on this. We got some people in the audience that I hope will get the chance to speak about it. I think between this group in the great town we have, I believe we can solve this problem and come up with something that we could work with. So I'd like to stay on the case. I'd like to work with Judy and figure out a way that we can do something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not to take things back, but along those lines, Nat, if there's a working group that goes forward, you know, that keeps this issue hot and results in something, maybe that's something to consider. That's a combination of board members and citizens. I don't know.
I certainly support it. I support the effort and would entertain anything that falls within our legal responsibility of what we can and what we cannot do. But the way this is drafted, I cannot.
And we've had conversation. We had a specific question.
We're not supposed to discuss anything.
Okay, well, no. It was, a little birdie asked. But there's an open question as to whether we can prohibit federal agents from using town property, physical property. I mean, you know, a parking lot, say, that we own. That's an open question. We don't know the answer to that yet. So, without knowing that answer, and this includes, you know, this document, it refers to resources. So, parking lots, for example, fall within the aegis of resources, and I would love to withhold resources from ICE. I just don't know if we're allowed to yet, or don't yet know if we're allowed to. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay. Anything from the audience?
Hi. I want to start by thanking everyone. My name is Alexandra Kane, C-A-I-N, and I live in Nelsonville, and I am a member of Joining Forces, a group of engaged neighbors who basically asked this question of what are our policies, and found out that we felt that they needed a little bit of work. Subsequently, we drafted a letter that 150 concerned citizens have signed, including the Chamber of Commerce board. So I think that whatever our personal opinions are versus our governance opinions, I think that this is a conversation that needs to be taken seriously.
Also a legal
Sure, legal and governance.
Which is really important.
Sure, of course. I disagree with, I'm not a lawyer, but I disagree with, or I have heard very different things from your legal opinion, so that's definitely something I'd want to discuss more. And, you know, to you, before I read my little statement, I want to say, you know, you were an EMT, so you understand how...
A paramedic.
So you understand how people react very differently in emergencies, right? Mm-hmm. And what's the best way to know how to react to an emergency? I used to be a hospice chaplain in prisons and in ERs. What is the best way to know how to react, to have confidence that you're going to react in an emergency the way that you would like to?
It's proper training.
Nothing
more important.
Practice, right. Exactly.
Right, within your role.
Sure, right. Within your role.
Right.
So the two pieces before you tonight are simple, and they are meant to work together. The first is the updated equal protection resolution. The second is the policy. The resolution sets direction. The policy sets procedure. Together, they provide clarity, consistency, and protection for residents and for the town. Most local immigration harm happens through courts, through record requests, interagency cooperation, and informal compliance by staff. I was in particularly confused by what you said about people's right of speech. I would guess that there is a difference between somebody's right to speak freely when they're out in the street doing their own thing and to violate the policy of their employer while they're working. I would guess that there's a different legal criteria there. So to me, it's a weird thing, or it's confusing to say that that a citizen is expected to react, it has the same freedom of speech as an employee of governance. So that was a little confusing to me, because what we're asking for is a policy while people are at work that they are given, so that they know what they're supposed to do, what they're expected to do by their employer, which is you all, and at the end of the day is us.
I mean, the First Amendment, we're a town government, right? So the town, being the government, is saying you may only speak this way while
No,
you're
we're
at
not
work.
saying- It's like, so I used to work for a corporation, right? And I
Yeah.
signed an NDA. So if I'm working and somebody calls up and they says, I'd like information that the NDA that I signed with my employer forbids me from giving them, and I say, I can't give that to you, that is not a violation of my free speech. Is that correct?
I can't debate the corporate NDA law
Or policy?
right
It's a
now.
violation of my
That-
employer's policy.
Let's let her answer.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Because we're not a for-profit or nonprofit or private corporation. We are a unit of government.
Right. And
Okay?
so we don't have the right to make policies with our
have-
employees.
Listen, if the town wants to put itself at the risk of defending a civil rights action over a hypothetical scenario, John, I think you said we have never had an ICE inquiry.
Correct.
It's your, yeah.
These are unprecedented times. I think we can all agree with that.
Sir.
And I think we can all agree that when you're dealing with people who are behaving the way that the federal government is currently behaving, that every single barrier that you can put in front of them is a barrier that you want to put, right?
Within the law.
Sure, but we're not actually asking you to do anything.
Yeah, actually you are, but within the laws of the state of New York, and we are all sworn
Sure.
when we take our
Sure.
office to
Sure.
uphold the
Okay.
Constitution of the state of New York. So that's important. That's an important
This
part.
proposal fully respects, but it also clarifies a standard. Cooperation with civil immigration enforcement would require a judicial warrant or a court order signed by a judge. We know this because it's been in the news, it's been in all the trainings, lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, civil rights lawyer after civil rights lawyer has made this clear to the citizenry of this country that they need a judicial warrant or a court order, not an administrative ICE detainer or requests that are not judicial warrants. This aligns with New York state guidance and longstanding constitutional principles, including the anti-commandeering doctrine.
Is the immigration detainer's the one where ICE would go to like the local jail or police and say, hey, when this person comes up for release, can you call us? Is that going to happen in the town of Philipstown?
We don't have a police department.
Okay.
Fine, but they could walk in and say, hey, you know, so-and-so has a dog. There's a guy with a dog in town, and they walk into the clerk downstairs and says, can you give me their address? Whether or not it's public information, they have to do the work to go out and file the FOIL. Do you think that Jonathan Ross, who shot Renee Good in the back, is going to go out and submit a FOIL? Or do you think he's going to move on to his next victim, right? We're putting barriers in front of them, every barrier that we legally can to protect our community.
You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Legally can.
Right.
And that's the process.
That's the question. And I agree that if you don't feel that you're confident yet in what we legally can do, then that's important.
Right.
I think that we want to do it. But we're also protecting the town from, I believe it's called unlawful detainment. So what if they give that information, they kidnap somebody, and then, God willing, the administration changes, and that person sues us because we enabled their unlawful detainment, right? So there's a lot of legal reasons to
Because
also...
we gave them the dog's license?
No, because we gave them information that led to their detainment.
Which is public information.
I have heard from many people that not every single
Well,
piece of
we're going to go
citizen
by
data-
what the legal opinion of
So
our
every
town.
single piece of citizen data that the entire town has access to administratively is all public information.
That is correct.
That's not true. You
excluding-
can't foil someone's marriage license. You can't no, that's not true. Not all of it is subject to FOIL law. Some of it is.
Records. Personnel and medical records.
Right, and
they can.
we're talking about any record that is not public. And it's also if you understand the way that the situation is unfolding, if we simply tell every employee, we train them on what to do, you give them guidance, and you say, if ICE comes in here, you tell them you're not allowed to talk to me, and give them the phone and they'll talk to you, right? So you're taking away this moment of emergency. We don't know how our employees are going to react to a man in a mask with police across here and a gun coming in and saying, you know, and threatening them into giving them information. You don't know how they're going to react. They could react in any number of ways. And if we have a policy that trains them on legally sort of the extent of the law that we are allowed to prohibit, it puts a barrier, it puts more barriers and difficulties in front of ICE, and it protects the employee. Yeah, you got to call John Van Tassel if you want any information from me about anything, right? And so we're just, this is not business as usual. This is not, oh, it's just up to the state, oh, it's just up to the federal government. It is about every single barrier, action, protection we can do to fight off this, you know, incursion on our rights. And so we're all circling the wagons around Philipstown. You can't save us. We, you know, individuals can't save us. We need to circle the wagons in Philipstown and protect each other the best that we can. So if it's not legal, sure, go back and figure out what is legal. But to the fullest extent of the law, if we do nothing, that's not acceptable to a lot of our citizens, and you're going to keep hearing from us about it. You know, I'm going to be up here driving you crazy.
You've done it already.
And, you know, as far as a distraction, what you guys do most of the time, 99% of the time, is boring but important work, right? I deeply appreciate.
And we have plenty of it.
And you have plenty of it. I was a local reporter for years. I get it. I sat in many of those meetings that were empty, where you're making sure that we're all safe and healthy and that the streets are plowed, you know, which you did a very good job. I'm from Chicago, so I know snow. You did a very good job. So working with us together to do the maximum extent of our right, we'll be able to move on past this, and may nobody be able to come.
Listen, and I understand. Like I said from the start, I appreciate the fear. I appreciate the desire to do something. But as you identified, we have to work within the law. And within I let you talk. It's my turn right now. We have to work within the letter of the law and follow the state of New York's guidance.
Right.
What Ned has proposed, that we support other policies at the state level, if there's anything that we could do as a local municipality within our control, within the law, I would have no opposition to it. But the way, I'm still going. But the way this current resolution is proposed, it's not acceptable. Okay, we would be in complete opposition to what legally is
I
in
will
front
work
of
with you on getting a
can't
resolution
wait.
that protects all of us. I'm there. I'm not a lawyer, but I was raised by lawyers. There's 4 lawyers in my family.
I can tell.
So I would love to talk with you and work out something. I'm not here. None of us are here to shove something down your throat that's not legal.
Well, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah,
it's
but
all
you
right.
know, it also feels like you're not taking this as seriously as we are.
And again, I started out, I take this job very
No, I didn't
seriously.
say this job. I said this issue.
This issue is part of this job.
Okay.
If I didn't think it was, we wouldn't be sitting here. It wouldn't have been on the agenda. I immediately, when Judy requested it, I put it on the agenda. Is that correct?
That's true.
There was no argument. I vented. I told everybody on this board the way I feel. I'm not going to hide that, and I think the entire audience knows the way I feel. I think the entire town knows the way I feel. That it's not the responsibility. If we want to make a difference, a big difference, that's going to happen in November. That's when we're going to make a big difference. And I will focus, John Van Tassel, not the supervisor in the town board, I will focus every bit of effort that I have to making that happen in November. But I have to be very careful about what we do as a town and what we're subjecting the town to. Again, it goes back to risk versus benefit. I don't see how we're going to protect anybody. And maybe you've just given us a scenario, and I challenged it, and it looks like you're up for the challenge. But you may have given us one. We don't have any time for any more, but you may have given us an example. And as long as it falls within what we legally can do, I would certainly entertain it. But the broadness of this resolution or this proposed policy is not something that we can, certainly not something that I can sign on to, and I'm not speaking for the rest of the board.
So the last thing I'm going to say is that my understanding of the full extent of the law that this body can do or can pass as a policy is different than yours. And so my request is that you work with the residents of this community who are concerned to make sure that we are passing a policy that protects our citizens to the fullest, maximum, 100%.
Not citizens, it's humans.
Great,
It's not
residents,
just
neighbors.
citizens. It's human
Fine,
beings.
great.
It's human beings.
That
So I'll
will
go a little
protect-
further.
That we can do, and we're going to the library, we're going to the school, that we can do legally to protect our neighbors to the maximum of the law. And I'm asking you guys to work with us on that as quickly as possible and as soon as possible. And, you know, we'll work on it together, but if we can agree that it's our job, it's our responsibility to pass policy that is to the full maximum extent of the law that we can pass to protect our neighbors.
Right, within the laws of the state.
Sure, and we're gonna figure out what the laws are, and that should be relatively objective, so hopefully we'll come to an understanding that we can agree on.
Sounds like a plan. So one thing I would like to say, we're not going to keep beating a dead horse here. So if there's something different that people are going to add to the conversation, I'll certainly entertain it. It's getting late, but we don't want to hear the same thing over and over.
Well, I think it's a little different. First of all,
Can you just introduce yourself?
oh, I'm Dan Noble. I live on East Mountain Road South, and I was a defense attorney in federal court
I can't talk to you, sorry.
for over 30 years. So the first thing I would like to say, if one of your town employees came to me, they wouldn't because I'm long retired, and said, I'm being charged with obstruction of justice, I'm being charged with something
I would
else."
prefer you address me rather than
Okay.
attack Mary Kate. but
Okay.
you-
If they came to me, first thing I would want to say is, well, do you have some sort of authorization from the town that I could say you were following so that I could raise that in your defense, that this wasn't some unilateral action on your part. You were following, as the young lady said, a defined policy of the town. I can't think of a better gift that you could give to your employees.
Right.
Now, the next thing,
The ownership there would go from the employee to the town itself. So then the ownership of that whole issue would go from the employee over to the town of Philipstown.
I don't know that.
Well, I
that
think that's the way it
concept
would work, but I'm not an
wouldn't
attorney.
quite fit in, but what the employee, what the individual, the hypothetical was, an individual is going to face a criminal charge. And what I'm saying is, give that individual some backing. And the way you give that individual backing is you have a town policy that says, this is what you do. Now, let it play out from there. I don't know what's going to happen in court. You don't know how,
I don't have but I kind of have an idea where that would go.
I'm frankly not sure that you do. I think it would be pretty compelling because, let me get to my next point. You say, what's going to happen? Give me a scenario. Well, 6 months ago, if I gave you a scenario that the Department of Justice would seek a subpoena to go in and seize voting records from a county that had been vetted multiple times over the last 6 years, would you have anticipated that?
I would not, but I also know that's not discussed in the town of
If the Employment
Philipstown.
Opportunity Commission was going to file their first significant lawsuit against Nike because they didn't protect Caucasians, would you have anticipated that? So I'm begging you, don't try to anticipate these guys. You can't.
Right.
And the final thing is, let me just say this.
Go ahead.
You're not inventing the wheel here. Multiple jurisdictions have similar laws to this.
Towns?
Pardon?
Towns similar to the size? Well,
Okay,
that's
let us
important.
look at this.
That's important. A town without a police department? I want to see the data.
I'm not sure, what difference does that make? really?
Well, it's a huge difference because we don't have jurisdiction
But
over,
then
hold
all
on.
your-
We don't have any jurisdiction over any
John, what
police.
you're saying is your odds of having to deal with this, to implement this policy is reduced because you don't have the infrastructure that's going to invoke ICE to come to
My
you.
point is, people have said, and I don't know yes or no, if other towns have adopted something similar to this. I keep being told other towns have, but I haven't seen it. And then the other key is it a town that does not have a police department? Because that's a big difference. It makes a big.
Why do you see that as a big difference?
Because if we were in control of a police department, it would have a lot to do with, warrants, resistance, how we can cooperate or we don't cooperate. Do we assist ICE? We don't set policy for the Putnam Sheriff's Department. We don't set policy, obviously, for the state police who monitor and cover the town of Philipstown. So I think it creates a big difference in our responsibility and our response.
But your responsibility would be to implement this resolution if the circumstances arose where you had to invoke. In other words, if ICE came to say you're having kids participate in a sanctioned activity in a county park,
Town park.
and ICE, a town park,
Right.
sorry. I mean, I understand, okay, and they wanted to have access to this activity, you could deny it under this resolution. All I'm saying, you want to sit here and play hypotheticals, we could go all night. What I don't see, what you're saying is, I don't have a police department, we don't maintain these records. You're not talking about the significance of this resolution to the message it sends,
But the
more generally,
symbolism.
and also to the guidance it gives. The young lady was absolutely right. The firm, specified guidance it gives to all of your employees who are faced with a situation, we've just agreed we can't anticipate what these clowns are going to do. So because we can't anticipate what they're going to do, we have as broad a resolution, a package of guidance that gives people a measure of clarity of how they respond to these unforeseen issues. What you're saying is, I can't foresee an issue where it's going to come up. Great. You never have to deal with it. There won't be any problem. My point is, you don't know what's going to come up. These guys are nuts. They have no respect for the law. They have no empathy. They have no respect for people.
And I agree with that, but there's
But-
still a federal law enforcement agency. So there is stuff, they're a federal law enforcement agency. Whether you agree, I don't agree with what's going on, and I've said this over and over again, but we have to follow the law. We can't follow sentiment or symbolism. We have to follow the law of the state of New York. And where it would be changed, as Ned has identified, is with Dana Levenberg, is with Rob Rolson. It's at the state level, it's at the federal level.
Which law, I don't know which law you're saying. Multiple jurisdictions in this country at all levels have passed similar resolutions.
I'd like to see them.
I think that's a reasonable request.
I'd
I
like
think
to see
that
them.
is an
I-
eminently reasonable request.
Yeah.
And I think rather than you to sit here at the very beginning of this discussion and say, I'm opposed to it,
Well,
let's
we have-
follow up on that request.
We had plenty of reasons to not.
I don't think you do.
Well, that's your opinion, Bert, and you're the attorney.
Okay.
And if
Well,
I ever get in trouble, I
let's
want you to
explore,
represent me.
Okay, and I'll let other people speak.
Thank you. Yes, let's, go ahead. Yep.
Hello, my name is Lucas Gons. I'm a village resident and also joining forces member.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
My name is Lucas Gons.
Okay.
And so I have 3 points to make, and I'll try to make them briefly.
Please.
First of all, there's a legal conversation to be had here about the specifics of the legal opinion. And I wouldn't take as gospel each of the judgments that we have received from the attorney that we as a town have hired. We would want to go into the specifics of those. Some of those points were policy, some of them were legal analysis, some of them were strong, some of them may not have been so strong. I would not take the argument offered by the town's attorney as being a convincing final case that the resolution is not legal. I would want to have a specific conversation about those, and I'm pretty sure it would make some progress.
So if you were in my shoes, who would you rely on if you wouldn't rely on the town attorney?
Well, here's where I want to get to my second point.
Okay.
This situation is very much like the situation we faced not long ago when the school district was being steamrollered by the Department of Education to do something that was deeply out of sync with the will of the townspeople. And where our attorney saw their job as protecting the town and the school district from risk. That makes good sense.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Completely two different entities, the school district and the town of Philipstown.
Yeah, but
Completely, we have zero interaction or authority. Hold on. We have zero authority over the school district. So it's completely different.
I would not make the case that they are the same thing. I would make the case that the situation you find yourselves in right now is kind of extraordinary. In your careers doing what you do here, you have almost never had such a big picture on your plates.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go.
That's a great conversation to have, but I would stand by that.
I wouldn't.
And so what I would ask you to consider are the same things that the school board members had to consider and were shocked to find themselves having to deal with, which was getting beyond the day-to-day work that you do, that I want to say I'm grateful for. Like, it's hard doing what you do. I mean, you guys are like mom and dad for the town, keeping the bills paid, figuring out the loans, all that stuff. It is hard. It's a lot of work. But you get lost in the minutia, unfortunately. This is a moment where your responsibility is towards the purpose of the town, the will of the people, and what we actually want you to do in a higher sense. So just to reiterate, my 3 points have been, first of all, I think the legal arguments are debatable and need to be debated. Secondly, I think that that this is a situation that we've faced before in our town recently, and the people who represent us found themselves having an unusual burden that their ordinary experience didn't prepare them for. And lastly, I want you to consider the larger purpose of what you're doing here. Although we're grateful for the discipline, the sense of duty, the responsibility, the skill, the mutual responsibility that you bring to your work, this is a moment where your mutual responsibility is to the larger purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to cut it off. We're going to get like 5 more minutes. Come on up. I'm about checked out. I don't know about the rest of you.
I'm not going to be long. My name's Susan Ansbach. I live on East Mountain Road in South. I just have a couple of points. Sorry. Thank you. All right. I just have a couple of points to add. I don't think they're too repetitive. One is, I'd be happy to share with you, there are many communities like ours that have passed resolutions like this, and so we wouldn't be out there in the hinterlands as the only one. And I think the other thing I wanted to just throw out, since people are throwing examples out, and this seems to me more likely that it could come up without any education of our staff about perhaps the sentiment that the community feels in this regard, if the rec staff was having an event with children in an enclosed space, and an ICE officer presented themselves without a judicial warrant, but had an administrative warrant or some other type of document, and said, I need to get Johnny Jew over there, Johnny Juice, Johnny J, whatever. I need that child to come with me. What is our staff member supposed to do? Now, if there was training, if there's a plan, whether it's a resolution or legislation, I think one way we might be able to all embrace this issue is set up, a lot of work has already gone into this with the resolution and draft that you all have and that I saw at the bottom of the agenda. Thank you very much, Tara. But maybe set up an ad hoc committee that could, with citizens you've heard from or others that you want to appoint, and members of the town board, to meet on an expedited basis to perhaps fine-tune the document that's been presented or else come up with a comparable one. And along the way, they could solicit input from town attorneys or others. And I think that might be something in addition to what Ned was proposing about joining forces with the assembly or the...
I'm fully open to that, and I would also just say to you, our rec staff won't turn a child over to anybody than the people that are on the registry of who can pick them up and who can't pick them up.
All right, well, that's...
The facility is locked, so to get in the facility, you got to be buzzed in. And
right. I hear what you're saying. I think what all of us are saying is the rules seem to have changed in a lot of respects, and I'm not sure somebody standing with a gun...
I just have one more question for that scenario.
Well, somebody standing with a gun at the door, I don't know, but I'd rather not even go there, and I just suggest that we could... offline, have an ad hoc committee with members of the board.
I would fully support that.
And some of the speakers who have spoken, and on an expedited basis so that we aren't discussing this
Well, you know the way
next
government
year.
works, nothing goes fast, so it takes a long time.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yes, sir. We're going to make this the last one, okay? Let's end on a good note.
Hi, my name's Liz Corio. I live in Philipstown on East Mountain Road, Crest Road, excuse me. I have 2 points. I want to read into the record a statement that was recently endorsed, voted positively on by the Philipstown Democratic Committee at its regular monthly meeting on Sunday. The Philipstown Democratic Committee statement on equal protection in immigrant communities. The Philipstown Democratic Committee affirms our belief that all people deserve dignity, safety, and equal protection under the law, regardless of immigration status. We stand firmly behind the town of Philipstown's 2017 Equal Protection Resolution, which directed that local governments not participate in federal civil immigration enforcement, absent a legal requirement or court order, and that community trust is essential to public safety, public health, and democratic life. Local governments do, in fact, hold extensive personal information on residents through courts, permits, records, services, emergency response, and daily municipal operations. How that information is used, protected, or shared matters. Just as importantly, federal law does not require towns to voluntarily assist civil immigration enforcement. Cooperation is discretionary, and local governments have both the authority and the responsibility to set clear policies governing their own employees and resources. Immigrant families are our neighbors, coworkers, classmates, and friends. Policies or the absence of clear policy that create fear, discourage people from seeking emergency services, reporting crimes, attending school, or engaging with local governments weaken our entire community. As Democrats, we believe that equal protection is not symbolic. It is implemented through clear policy and lawful practice. Local governments play a critical role in safeguarding civil rights and community safety. Municipal resolutions are formal acts of public policy that guide conduct, set standards, and reflect the will of the people. No one should live in fear of local institutions meant to serve and protect the public. We call on local leaders at every level to strengthen, not dismiss, protections that uphold constitutional values, foster trust, and ensure that Philipstown remains a community where everyone can live without fear. Democracy works best when dignity, fairness, and human rights are actively protected through action, not ambiguity. That was, again, the statement that the Philipstown Democrats...
Can I just make a comment on that?
You can, of course.
First of all, we are not regulated by the Philipstown Democratic Committee.
Not at all.
Okay. I have for a second. So we are regulated by the laws of the state of New York. And as I've said over and over, I support human rights and not just citizens' rights, human rights. And I've said it again and again, but we have to operate within the laws of the state of New York. And we have to remember what our role and responsibility here as a local government is. So that's it.
Great. The other point that I wanted to make is that I'm concerned that an illegal executive session was called tonight.
How would you determine that?
Because according to New York Public Officers Law, Section 105-1, executive session is which you called for an executive session with the entire town board, with the town's attorney. Executive session is only allowed for specific subjects, including pending or proposed litigation, specific personnel matters about a particular person, collective bargaining, real estate negotiations, and certain law enforcement investigations. There is no exception for legal advice or consulting the attorney. If it's about policy, resolutions, whether something is lawful, or how the town should proceed, it must be discussed in public.
I will strongly disagree with you on that.
It's the law of New York State, John.
I read the law as well, and we have an attorney here. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? This is it, last one.
Hi, my name is Alex Dubroff. I live in the village of Cold Spring, and I just wanted to remind this board that a few years ago, you were groundbreaking in New York State. You passed a safe storage ordinance prior to the law being passed in New York State. You set an example, and that led to this law being passed at the state level. We need to do the right thing. We need to stand up as patriots. The patriots fought on this very land where we stand now. If we don't stand up for what is right here in our community, in every little way that we can, we don't deserve to live on this land. Thank you.
Done. Okay. Do we have anything else? Nothing else on this. That'll be it for that discussion for this evening. We're going to go on to the rest of the town board agenda.
So next is to schedule any workshops or meetings. We have the public hearing on the local law to revise the zoning code as it relates to the conservation subdivision.
I'm sorry, wait, can I just interrupt really
sorry,
quickly?
go
I'm sorry.
ahead. No, I'm
John,
gonna
is there
sneeze.
any summation that we want to make here? Any agreement of what we're going to do next?
I am certainly willing to entertain an ad hoc committee that can review this. If you want to form something, if we want to, the town attorney would certainly be included, just like
Yeah.
any other committee
Yeah.
like this, and we can set a direction for the town. I am fully supportive of that.
Okay. So, thank you, John.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, Tara.
No, it's okay. You're in charge. I'm not. I'm just here for show. If you could, as you're leaving, if you could please keep it down because the meeting is still public.
We have an
and is
agenda to
still
finish,
being
and
recorded.
we'd like
You
to
have
get
an
out of
agenda
here,
to
so
finish.
I'll give you 2 minutes to get out if you're leaving, and please have conversations in the hallway or downstairs.
Downstairs, please.
No, not right now. Sorry, we're in a meeting. We'll talk later. You can email me. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Go ahead. No, thank you. Okay, we're not doing this. Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, so next is to schedule any workshops or meetings. We have the public hearing at 7:30 before the regular monthly meeting in March, and that's for the local law regarding the conservation subdivisions. And then we have the monthly meeting on March 5th at 7:30. And then I do know that there was talk of scheduling a workshop to discuss the draft local law on the short-term rentals.
Yes.
And if you look at the agenda, I did provide a list of dates.
February 18th, is that February 18th a possibility? Does that work, Mary? Yeah, I think so. Okay.
So we're going to do a workshop February 18th on short-term rental.
February 18th. I will also put the South Mountain Pass, because we have to pass
Correct.
that.
We have to do the
an
South-
amended secret resolution for South Mountain Pass. Okay,
And
so
we
the
also, Kevin gave me something this evening that we need to approve for something.
Yes, he emailed it to me also. Yeah, he put it on my desk. Okay, so we'll do a workshop on February 18th at 7:30 here.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, can you reiterate what the subject of that is? Is that short-term
So
rental?
that's going to be to go over the
Yeah.
short-term rental
Okay.
draft local law. I'll send out an agenda. There'll
Okay.
probably be a few other things.
Yeah,
but,
thank you.
And next on the agenda is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. This is for January 2026. Total fees collected, $21,603.50. Total permits issued, 19. One new one or two family dwelling. There were 4 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings. There were 14 all other permits. 35 certificates of occupancy were issued, and there were 2 operating permits issued.
Okay, one thing that Kevin usually gives us a little quote at the bottom. As you drive around the community, you'll notice a lot of people have not plowed their driveways. And I will remind you, the fire truck and the ambulance is not an SUV, and it cannot make it in your driveway. If you're having a hard time with your Subaru wagon getting into your driveway, the ambulance and the fire truck will not make it. So just please clean your driveway. It's not melting. There's no sign of any melt anytime soon. So please make sure you're accessible so we can get to you. We had an issue the other night, so.
Next is any other business that may come before the town board.
I mean, at this point, I'd rather not get into this topic, but if anybody has not seen the FEIS finding statement for the Fjord Trail, they should review it, take a look at it. We do have another meeting with Fjord tomorrow at 4 p.m. in reference to the funding of the grant, the TAP grant for both Fair Street and 9D. So that's where we're headed on tomorrow at 4 p.m. Well, I'll let them more later. But please review the FEIS finding statement.
I just wanted to, again, thank the Highway Department and the crews, both Philipstown Highway Department, Village of Cold Spring, and the trucks that plowed Nelsonville. Did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
It was a hard job. I saw them out there.
Yeah, they worked over 24 hours.
On a Sunday.
I've got one thing to add, if that's all right. I don't really know what to do with this, and I think you guys will know more about this ongoing topic than I do, but I got a call from a resident, Abe Waxman, over in, okay. And I figured as much, and he wanted me to mention that that the streams running down Cliffside Court are contaminated, and he wants the DEC to come and test, and you have to tell the Philipstown Town Board.
This has been an ongoing topic.
I know.
And he likes to not be disclosed as,
I'm sorry.
as
Well-
that person. So, but we have.
Somebody told me this. It was through 4 conversations in the last 2 days.
You didn't talk
So
about
I did, yeah.
So this has been going on for
Probably 2 years.
longer than that,
Yeah.
longer than that. So it's in reference to another building project in his community. I have been there, been on the phone. Bobby and I have met with him on a multitude of occasions. He's met with the town attorney, the town engineer has been involved, Greg Warner. So there has been a lot of attention, but again, we have to follow the law. And I believe the application has now been through the planning process. The property has been mitigated, but there'll still be more steps to be taken, so.
That's correct. Like I reported tonight, the Fasta property, they had multiple violations. Our code enforcement officer got them all rectified, and now they can move forward.
There was a mitigation plan presented by the applicant's engineer. From what I understand, I haven't been,
I haven't been down there myself.
right, but the plan has been implemented, and it's been implemented to the approval of the town engineer and the building department, so there's a lot to this.
I got the sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is anything from the audience. Nothing, Shelley? Oh.
Hello.
Anita Prentice, I live in Philipstown. I just wanted to follow up on what Ned said earlier about that the town can take positions supporting legislation that's currently under discussion in Albany, the New York for All Act, the MELT Act, I was going to say the Radar Act. You mentioned another one, Ned, but I mean that's something that you could do soon because legislation is being discussed as we speak, and I think it would be wonderful for the town to take a position.
Actually, I have a Zoom call with Dana on Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure yet, but we can certainly get some more information.
Great, and I mean, if you need citizens and residents to support you, there's lots to us, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, so for vacancies, we do have one on the zoning board. I will, and I must say, I dropped the ball on advertising for that last month, so I will get it in there as soon as possible. I dropped the ball on that this month.
Maybe we can reach out to some of the
I mean,
applicants.
I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of interest, so
good,
I'll get
okay,
on it.
Good, right, good.
Yeah, we have a whole running list of people that
People
ran
applied
for, went for the
planning
planning,
board.
conservation.
And, yeah,
There was a bunch of resumes. We had 9 applicants
I
last
don't know that there was so much interest in zoning, but I could also put it out.
Well,
I
hey,
could
it's-
also reach out to the people who have applied for the other
It's a
boards.
spot in this machine.
Listen, I hear ya. Next is approval of vouchers.
Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all.
Somebody second?
Starting to get it.
Second on the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank